everybody. You guys had Dan Morakani and now you got me. That's a downgrade. I think Dan is the epitome of South African excellence. I'm sure in his masterclass you got a sense why the work him and his team have done has been absolutely pivotal to reinvigorating growth in South Africa. So you guys got really, really lucky. So just by way of introduction, I'm Cheslyn Jacobs. I like to say I'm a father first. Oh, you have to do this, eh, Candice?
Sanbonani, Humelai. Goeiemôre and good morning, everyone. I'm Candice Singh. I work in the business of people, and today I'm very honored to be your facilitator. You know, just a year ago, I was sitting exactly where you are, kind of nervous, a bit excited, and curious about what the future might hold. Also quite determined to make the most of every conversation, every lesson, and every opportunity the summit had to offer. As young people and as young leaders, we are often encouraged to think about what we want to become. What career do I want? What impact do I want to make? What does success look like? But perhaps the more important question is why. Because when you know your why, the what becomes clearer. Our masterclass this morning is titled Know Your Why, How Purpose and Passion Can Deliver Real Value. And when I looked at Cheslyn's journey, what struck me most was not only where he is today, but the consistency of purpose that has carried him throughout his career. Raised in Cape Town by his grandparents, Cheslyn's story began in a community that taught him resilience, responsibility, and the value of hard work. He went on to study industrial and organizational psychology at the University of Western Cape and was later selected for the Standard Bank prestigious graduate program. He furthered his studies with additional qualifications from GIBS. He then joined Deloitte before taking a chance with a business called Tyme in 2012. What followed wasn't an overnight success story. Over the next 14 years at GoTyme Bank, Cheslyn helped build the business from the ground up, serving in roles across distribution, operations, sales, customer growth, strategy, and commercial leadership. Along the way, he helped expand access to banking for millions of South Africans, before being appointed CEO of GoTyme Bank earlier this year. Today, he leads our country's most exciting challenger bank. But what I find most inspiring is that while the titles change, the purpose remains the same. Creating success through access, opening opportunities, and helping more South Africans unlock their potential. And that commitment to growth doesn't stop at work. When he's not helping lead the organization with his team, or creating some pretty good TikToks, you'll probably find him taking on his next challenge. He's completed 2 70.3 Ironman events, summited Mount Kilimanjaro, and just a week ago crossed the finish line of the Comrades Marathon. Yet despite all of these incredible achievements, the role he speaks about most proudly is being a devoted family man, a husband and a father, raising 2 children alongside his wife, and helping them become the best version of themselves. I think today, that's what the topic is really about. Purpose isn't something you discover when you become successful. Purpose is often the reason you become successful in the first place. And I can't think of a better leader to help us explore today's topic. Are we ready? Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please give us your loudest, proudest, and heartiest welcome. A bolder inspiration to many, Cheslyn Jacobs.
Yeah, thanks, Candice. I definitely couldn't do that. So often when people introduce me, I always say, I wish my wife was in the room just to hear how they talk about me. Huh? And I often get reminded at home, I'm not the CEO at home. I just happen to live there. So you guys forced me to wear shoes today. Like Candice said, I ran Comrades Marathon last week Sunday. My left foot is ridiculously sore right now. I had the most brutal blister. So I've been wearing sandals all week, and today is the first day I've worn closed shoes since the race. But if anybody is a runner or want to be a runner, I'm not a runner. I don't like running. if you are a runner, you should absolutely consider doing comrades. It's physically the toughest thing I think I've ever done. But the event, the spirit, I think we got a full-on experience as to why they call it the Comrades Marathon. It's just, it's absolutely next level. So it don't take about 6 months to get ready. So you wake up 4:45 every morning to run, but you can do it. Okay, cool. So we'll try and get stuck in again. I'm very flexible with how you guys want to do it. I'm happy for people to stop me, interrupt me. I know there was rules around one question. I'm happy for anybody to kind of decide if there's a thing that's really pressing in that point. Raise your hand. I really don't mind. I want it to be as interactive as possible. I want you guys to feel that you can at least take something out of the conversation today. So please feel free to dictate how you want it to happen. So yeah, know your why. It's something really important to me, and I think should be important to everybody. And I think there's, you can't be a banker and not start a presentation with some stats, right? So if you read there, it says, and there's lots of research on these things, and often what people think is purpose, passion's a very soft idea, right? I'm hoping my life story, my personal story, my professional story is actually says that it's not a soft idea. It's most probably the one thing that can create genuine value, not only for yourselves, but for everybody else that you interact with, right? So it says 9 in 10 people would trade a share of lifetime earnings for more meaningful work. If I'd asked you guys that question, would you trade lifetime earnings for more meaningful work? What would you answer? Those who say yes, left your hand. Yeah? Yes. A lot of capitalists in the room, yeah? Now here's the interesting thing is you say no because you don't actually know the data behind the second point. Right? What that second point says is that purpose-driven organizations are actually 3 times more successful than non-purpose-driven organizations. That's true. It's true? So why did you answer no to the first question? Right? It is, and a simple thing, you think Apple's not a purpose-driven organization. Go and look at everything Steve Jobs speaks about. Why he does what he does. Why he was obsessed about creating the most simple, slickest user interface in the world. That was his purpose. Yes, it's going to make tons of money, but he wanted to create slick, seamless experiences for his users. That's it. Right? 3 times, and you can go and research many companies. They'll be 3 times, on average, 3 times more successful than any other organization. And then 86% of young people, we needed to have young people. You guys are all young, I'm assuming. Younger than me, most probably. This is weird. 86% of young people say a sense of purpose is key to job satisfaction. Right? So I've worked in financial services my whole life, but more importantly in what we call inclusion, financial inclusion, my whole life. And I've never ever felt that I've actually been working. Right? I've always felt like I've been making contributions. Right? And again, but that's my purpose. It doesn't have to be your purpose. What I'm going to try and build an argument around is why you've got to know what yours is. Okay. So where does your why live? So I often say that there's 5 honest questions I think you've got to ask yourself to kind of get to what your answer is. Right? Passion. So what would you do if you never had to be paid? Right? Now, anybody just want to shout out what one of your passions are, your hobby? Anything? Sorry?
I'm a self-taught botanist.
Self-taught?
Self-taught botanist.
Botanist, yeah. Right? So I'm glad you said self-taught, right? It's important because that's normally what a hobby is, a passion. It's something you're going to acquire on your own, most probably. But I promise you, all that information you've acquired on botany has stuck with you forever. Right? You remember all of it, you understand the technical detail, etc., etc., etc. If I ask anybody who wrote their biology exam in matric what an X or Y chromosome is, do you know the answer? Hey? You do? You do? You all know what an X and Y chromosome is? You wrote matric last year? What's an X and Y chromosome? Help me.
These are chromosomes that determine the gender of a person.
Okay, which one is which? And how do you create?
So as a woman, you have 2 X's. As a man, any of it. X and Y.
Wow, you guys are impressive. You studied a lot better than I did. You're killing my point though. The point I wanted to make is the stuff that you teach yourself are often the things you remember the most. Right? And even if you don't work with it for 6 months or 12 months, you then often can go back with it very, very quickly. But passion is driving that knowledge. Right? Talent, so obviously I think that goes without saying. What are you naturally, effortlessly good at? Now, the interesting with talent, I sometimes believe talent can be developed too. Right? Right? Because there's this other saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Right? So if you want to become good at something, the recipe is just work damn hard at it. Right? Need, right? I think for me, this is one of the most important things, right? Is that what problem do you actually want to solve? I shouldn't have used the word problem. I don't like that word. But what problem do you think the world is asking you to solve? Now, is most people South African here? Any non-South Africans in the room? Which country? Swaziland. So very similar construct in Swaziland. Any others? Right? So it's very easy. Pick up a newspaper, open a news app, which I don't have any of on my phone, by the way, and you'll read about the million problems the country has, right? And that's how it's positioned, as problems, right? But guess what each one of those problems need? A solution, right? So what I'll challenge you is that don't see it as a problem. What you should actually see it as an opportunity, right? To do something, right? So again, slightly different lens. And then value, again, so I think you need to make money. I think you do, a little bit at least, right? Because ultimately it is what creates some of the other platforms and luxuries I think we get to enjoy. So you need to understand what it is people are supposed would pay you. And then another really important one for me, so 3 and 5 are my two, for myself, is the two most important, is who do you want to lift as you rise? Now you guys are young leaders, think about what Lincoln's done with this thing, right? Lincoln said there this morning when he turned 55, how old is he now? 90? I met Lincoln when I was 22 years old for the very first time. But what Lincoln said when he turned 55, what he said, what does he want? He wants an environment where some of the youngest, brightest minds, right, in the country gets to spend some time with the youngest, brightest leaders, so that we can impart our knowledge and skills to you, so that you guys can go out in the world and continue making a difference, right? But I'm saying, who's he doing that for? Right? But I'm saying he's doing it for you guys. He's creating this platform for you. So if you think about, he's doing this in service of what he believes are the next generation of young leaders in our country. And I swear that's why it's so easy for him to do it, because he gets massive joy out of the fact that what he's doing is creating a platform so for so many other kids who looks like him, who come from places like he comes, to potentially summit the same challenges that he's overcome. So personally for me, 3 and 5 are my most important. And again, I think I'm hoping that these things help you plant seeds into trying to determine what you think the most important things for you are. All right. You'll see I use a few quotes through it, and it's more to create conversation. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. All right. And a simple kind of, and luckily my chief marketing officer won't hear this unless he watches the recording. But if you think about your trusted circle of friends, right? Who can think about the last thing you tried brand new because you saw a billboard or a TV advert or a radio advert? Can anybody think of anything that you've tried? So we just waste our money on marketing, right? But what if your closest friend told you to do something? To try something? Hey? You do it, right? But I'm saying because that's a trusted source, right? And you believe that what they actually want for you is in your best interest, right? Right. So if you think about when you say people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? So you guys laugh. I haven't watched any of the TikTok videos of myself. You guys laughed when, I'm assuming you guys have seen some of it. I just go with what our social media team says I must do at the office. But a lot of what we try and do is to start telling the story as to why our business exists. Right? At the end of the day, we happen to be a bank, right? But you have other dinosaur bank cards in your wallet today, maybe more than one, hopefully. Anybody a GoTyme Bank customer here? Yo, a lot. Are you sure? What do you like about it?
The TikToks.
Huh? Hey, what do you like about the bank account? Sorry? Goal Save. Who said that?
Honestly, I got it from people.
Goal Save. How much interest do we pay you on Goal Save?
Up to 10.
6% and 10.
There we go. Huh?
Jesus,
Right.
you should have laid the ground. We're quite competitive.
You should want to win no matter what's at stake, my guy. Huh? You should want to win no matter what's at stake, right? So if you think about, and why I gave the prize for Goal Save, and when we talk about why you do it, I'll give you a simple example. So for those that don't use us, you guys need to get into 2026 and get there very quickly. But a simple thing, the 6 and 10% interest rates she spoke about. South African banking, for as long as I've known it, right, and I've done a ton of desktop research on it, South African banks, still today, with the exception of GoTyme Bank, pays savers with lots of money to save a higher interest rate than they pay savers with less money to save. Now, if you don't believe me, open your phones right now, go onto the website of the bank where your salary gets paid into, and just check it. If you save up to 10,000 Rand, they pay you a low interest rate. Between 10 and 25,000 Rand, a different interest rate. Between 25 and 50, a different interest rate. 50 and 100, different interest rate. 100 to 250, and then 250 plus the highest. Right? The reality of the country we live in today, as South Africa, right, is that we've got the most unequal society on an income basis. Any economics students here? No? Yeah? Gini coefficient, you know it? Right? What's South Africa's? 0.69. Right? What does a 0.69 Gini actually mean? Right? What a 0.69 Gini coefficient means is that 69% of the country only shares 31% of the wealth. And 31% of the country shares 69% of the wealth. We've got the worst Gini coefficient in the world. In the world. Right? Now, if you take that product construct I explained around our banks our banks still pay people who save. Right? If you start with 100, I start with 10. Right? The difference between us is 90. Right? We now go into one of these products. They pay you more and they pay me less. At the end of the journey, is the difference still 90? It's even bigger. Right? So the construct of those products are actually creating a wider divide between our people financially. Right? What has GoTyme Bank decided to do? Whether you save 10 Rand, 10,000 Rand, or 10 million Rand, you earn a market-leading interest rate for everybody. Right? And I talk about why. Right? Now we're hoping through TikToks, maybe, because that's what you want to see, 30 seconds. Right? Through TikToks and through us continuously sharing this message, that people will no longer want to bank with us just because we're convenient. They want to bank with us because they genuinely believe what we're trying to do is to add value into their everyday lives. Right? It's as simple as that for us. Right? And the reality is that you can make a lot of money as a business doing that. Right? For my sins, I get to sign a set of financial statements. Our financial year end is in 10 days' time. It will be the first time we post profits as a business for a full financial year. Right? So it's proof that if you follow your actual purpose, you can build an enterprise that performs 3 times better than anybody else does on average. Okay? Another topic that's really dear to my heart and why it's important, why this is a youth leadership summit. So I had to bring in some things around leadership. There's a I want to say young man, he's not young anymore, but he's a very dear friend of mine now by the name of Etsko Skeitema, right? E-T-S-K-O Skeitema. And he penned a leadership theory called Care and Grow. Right? And ultimately what this leadership theory says is that as a leader, the only job you have is to care for and grow your people. That's all. Nothing else. Right? And often as leaders, you often think your job is to drive results. Right? ETSCO says your only job is to care and grow for your people. Now the easiest parallel to draw, any parents in the room? Are you guys old enough to be parents? Right? Hey? Hey, you guys look very young, right? So to all the parents, and so if you're not a parent, you were kids, you have or had parents. Think about your role as a parent. I've got an 11-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter. I was telling Candace I can't stay the whole day because my daughter wants me to take her to the hairdresser. Right? So that's what I'm doing this afternoon. As a parent, all you ever want is to care for and to grow your kids, right? So that they can be the best versions of themselves. Nothing else, right? Now, do they believe that? They don't. Hey? Well, most times, right? Right? But I'm saying, if anything goes wrong, who are they coming to first? Right? Guess what? They believe it. Right? Right? And what do they give you in return? So remember, all you're doing is caring for them, trying to grow them so they can be the best versions of themselves and hopefully make meaningful contribution to the world. What do they give you in return? Do you feel that they give you the absolute best? No? You're driving hard bargains with them, right? But I promise you, your kids do not want to disappoint you. Right? Of course they're going to sometimes, but it's not their intention to disappoint you. They don't go out there into the world and saying, I'm going to catch on because I want my mom or dad to flip and sulk all day. Right? They don't live that lives. Right? And what Care and Growth, the leadership theory teaches, is why should it be different at work? Right? Because guess who the person is walking through the door? Who gets there in the morning? Who is that person? Somebody else's child, is it not? Right? And guess what that child's parents want for them? Right? So what ETSCO argues, your job as a leader is simply to create a platform, right, for your people to become the best versions of themselves. Right? You don't get it right 100% of the time, I guarantee you. There's pockets of our business who only want to do what's in their job description. But I promise you they are the vast minority. Right? It's because what we're trying to create is a platform where people can be the best versions of themselves. Because ultimately when you leave the office, you're going home and you're either a mom, you're a dad, you're a brother, you're a sister. And if we can create an environment that allows you to be the best at that, guess what you're going to come and do at work tomorrow? You're just going to be damn good anyway. Right? And often what we do as leaders, we fixate on results as the end. All we want is results. And what we often use as a means to get that result is people. Right? We argue, you flip that around. Right? Because the job has to get done irrespective. Right? You use the work that you're trying to do to create the best versions of people. Right? So if you want to learn more about Care and Growth, there's lots of books that ETSCO has written. It will test every leadership fundamental you know. Right? It's because we are very results-driven traditionally, but the more we become people-driven, all I'm saying is that just think about your role as a parent, or think about the role a parent figure has played for you. As a leader, your job's no different at work. No different, right? So from passion to value, how do we get there, or how do we think we get there? Discover, right? Find what your why is, what truly fuels you, right? And I've got the joy of working with our young people in our business all the time, and often they want to hear my story. They want to know they want me to tell them what I think has gotten me to where I am, and I don't share that. Right? Not in the way they want me to. Right? I share the fundamentals I believe in. Right? Because I'm saying that has worked for me. Right? But why is what I have your version of success? It can't be. Right? And again, as young people, often what we do, we look at people we think are successful and we think that's what success means. But what if that's not important to me? Right? So you should never want to chase anybody else's measure of success. Right? And that's why it's important to understand what it is that fuels you. Right? And again, the simplest example, young South Africans, we love wasting our money on expensive cars. Right? And often we'll look at somebody with an expensive car and think they're successful because they must have money to buy that. But what if the person driving the cheap motorbike, that's all they ever wanted? Why are they less successful than the person? I don't think they're less successful. Right? I believe it's an extremely personal thing. Right? That only you can decide for yourself what that is. Right? And therefore I'm saying define it. Right? So if you've never lived your life this way, it's a really hard thing to get to. Right? But I think you must be very deliberate and very conscious about your journey to get there. Right? Because I promise you, once you've kind of anchored in that, it will fundamentally change the way you make decisions in your life. Right? So for example, what is my why at a high level today? Right? So my surname happens to be Jacobs. I come from a very rough background, grew up on the Cape Flats. I've got really good reflexes. We dodge bullets for fun. My dad, for most of my childhood, was a alcoholic, drug addict, gangster. He died a pastor, so he did a full 360. But you get to see things you don't always want kids to necessarily see every day. All right? Grew up with very little, but I'm saying we've made the most of it, etc. I've now decided that my ultimate why is that there will never be another poor Jacobs. Right? So what does that mean for me every single day? Right? Now I'm saying is that, again, that mustn't be your why. That's what drives me. I'm like, I watch communities and I think, gee whiz, these people have created generational wealth. It creates opportunity for so many other young people, their families. I'm like, okay, cool, that means I must. So now, I'm saying, okay, cool, if I'm deciding to do something, is it getting me closer to my why? And only if I believe that it is, will I do it. Right? Does that necessarily mean it does get me? No. I must believe it does. Right? But not all decisions work out the way you think they're going to. Now again, that's my why. You must find the thing that fuels you. Okay? Then you have to deliver on it. Right? And turn that into value for others. Right? So what Etzko also teaches is that he says our role as leaders actually, right, as well, is to unconditionally give. Right? Now again, the easiest parallel as a parent, right? You give these, you give these two little everything, right? And often you think, yes, it's just return the favor a little bit, right? But again, you do that with the expectation of getting nothing in return, right? Again, with the desire that they'll be the best versions of themselves. Again, as a leader, why should your job be any different? Right? Is to unconditionally give in a way that the people you serve can become the best versions of themselves. And that's why the beauty is that on those fundamentals, doesn't matter what your why is. That can always anchor. That can always anchor it. We spoke about discretionary effort. And in essence, it's the effort people give because they want to, not because they have to. Now again, you'll hear me speak about my kids all the time. I always say I'm a father first. It's the most important job I've got. And it's the one I enjoy the most. I don't think it's the one I'm the best at, but it's the one I enjoy the most. And Joshua, my son, he's just written his first set of exams. Grade 6, he's never written exams before. And now it's about percentages. So for the last 5 years, I didn't care what his report said, because in my mind it was subjective, because they say these numbers and 6 and 7. I'm like, what does these numbers even mean? It's like whatever the teacher felt on the day. You know, the reality, 8 out of 10 is 80% no matter how you feel. Right? So it's the first time he got a set of results, and we went through his report last night, and he did exceptionally well. Right? And I'm very different to my wife. Opposites attract, and I think that's important. And she sits with him and she nails him, and he must study. I'm just like, Joshua, you want to get good results? Inputs equal outputs. Right? So if you don't work hard, don't expect anything out on the other side. Right? Now, his lowest mark on his report was 72% for a subject called social studies. Joshua does not care about history. He does not care about geography. It's not what he likes. Right? So it's an absolute nightmare to get him to do anything extra for that subject. Right? We've tried everything. Now, because it's hard content, it's hard suddenly to make somebody love it. Right? But why this is important in the workplace? Right? Again, if you create an environment where your people genuinely feel that what you want for them is for them to be the best versions of themselves, why won't they give you this in return? Right? Because they don't feel what you want is to take from them. That's not what they're feeling. They're saying, all this business wants is for me to be the best version of myself. And for that to continue, this business has got to be super successful. And they will return that favor in multiples. Right? In multiples. You know, Nelson Mandela, I don't think we have to introduce him to anybody. And, you know, Madiba said a lot of really good things, and this is the one I found around passion, right? There is no passion to be found plain small in setting for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. Now, another thing I often say, I must stop saying to young people, it makes me sound old. I'm only 40, right? What I often say to the younger people is that what I think is becoming more and more important in today is self-belief. I don't know, Madiba said this a long time ago, actually. Right? So as young leaders, the only encouragement I can really give you is to back yourself. Absolutely back yourself. Right? And I can assure you, I'm sure there's everybody in this room, you've sat in a meeting, in a boardroom, in an engagement, and you wanted to say something and you didn't. And somebody else said exactly the same thing you were thinking. And you leave there livid with yourself. Right? All that other person had was more confidence than you. That's all. That other person only had more confidence than you. That's it. Right? But again, as young people, what we become so obsessed with is what other people potentially will think of us. And that creates the doubt. Don't give a shit. Right? What other people think. Right? And why I think it's easy for me to say that is I know what my why is. Right? I don't need you to support my why. It's mine. Right? But the contributions I'm going to give forward is based on what that is. Right? So you've got to absolutely back yourself all the time. Are you going to make mistakes? Of course you're going to. Who doesn't? Right? Now the other reality is that, again, as parents, there's lots of lessons in my mind between personal and professional. And one, I don't think they're separate, they're the same thing, and there's parallels all over the place. And I see it in the boardroom today all the time. It's something I had to unlearn, and not because my parents saw that this is what they were doing, but I think how we raise our kids play a role into this level of confidence. Right? So who grew up being told that don't speak when adults are speaking? It's the dumbest rule in the world. Right? It is the dumbest rule in the world, because what you're actually teaching a young person is when somebody so-called senior to them are speaking, you don't speak. That's actually what you're teaching them. Right? Now, I don't think our parents knew this. I don't think they taught you the wrong things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what we've got the opportunity is to reset those foundations. Right? Because I'm saying if you know something or if you think something, what does age got to do with it? Right? Allow your kids those platforms to express themselves in anybody's company. Right? Because at that small age, you're starting to train them that what they think and what they believe has value. Right? And you see it in the boardroom today, people sit there because I haven't said their name. So what they say, speak when you are spoken to. So I haven't said, Floyd, can I have your view? Unless I say that Floyd's going to sit there now. Back yourself to a kilter all the time. Right? So Candace gave a great introduction, comrades, all this stuff. I love doing hard stuff. I don't like running. I like doing hard things. Comrades is hard. Right? But it's about showing or setting an example that others can potentially follow. Right? Right? And I ran a good race, I felt good, etc. I trained really hard. I've got a medal to show for it. But guess what the most important outcome of comrades was for me? Right? On Tuesday when I got home, the kids were with me at the race. On Sunday they had to leave Sunday night. So they didn't see me finish. Right? But they saw me suffer at halfway 43 kilometers, and they saw me suffering again at 68. When I got home on Tuesday, Joshua said, Dad, when I'm 18, will you run comrades with me? Right? Now this is what I talk about when you're sowing seeds. Right? Your job as a leader is to lead from the front. Your job as a parent is to sow these seeds. They are no different. Right? I don't care. George Kush won 2 million rand. My victory in my mind was way bigger than his. In my mind. Right? Because all I wanted were my kids to see they can do hard shit too. Right? So at the parallel at work, has anybody seen the claim I made a month ago about what GoTyme Bank's objective is by the year 2030? So you're not watching the TikToks now. No, it's to be the most loved bank in South Africa. Now think about your banking relationship, you don't have no love for that institution. That's not the sensation you have. Right? And the team and I, we've decided that's the challenge we're accepting because it's hard. Right? And we're going to create a platform where the people who work for our business believe they can do hard stuff all the time. Okay? Passion versus purpose. Do you think they're the same thing or different things? Same. I think they're very different. How much time do we have, Candice?
It's 2 more minutes, so we need to...
Okay, cool. So very quickly, what I think the difference is here. Purpose is the anchor. Right? Your why shouldn't change. Right? Can it? Yes, it can if you fundamentally feel you become a new being or whatever the case is. But I don't think the purpose must change too often. Maybe 2-3 times in your whole life, if at all. Right? Especially once you've decided what it is. Passion can change though. Right? But what passions are is the things that you believe serves the purpose. Right? So you can say, for example, I'm saying my purpose is there won't be another poor Jacobs. Right? So suddenly 1 week my passion is around unit trusts and investments for the kids, and that's all I'm focusing on. That's a vehicle to achieve the purpose. Right? It could be education, or suddenly that's a vehicle. So those are different driving forces that can contribute to you achieving what your purpose is. Right? So when you think about this, it's because your interest can change as the information you're consuming changes. Right? But that shouldn't change your why. It will help you change the directions you take to get there. Right? Passions are the things that will help you set you on your way. Purpose is the thing that always anchors you. And I promise that the biggest clarity for me is once I decided that purpose, is it fundamentally changed how I make decisions. It's exponentially increased the consistency of principle I use in making these decisions. Right? And I think that's massively important. Okay, so your challenge in 2 minutes, name your why. Do the work to understand what you believe that is. Right? You guys have been selected on this program because you have showed massive potential to lead and make difference. Lead with care, grow with courage. Right? And start before you are ready. I think Governor Ganiago said it too, right? He says the only way to make no mistakes is to do nothing at all. Right? So don't wait for perfection. Make the brave, courageous decisions, irrespective whether all the information is there or not. Right? Be brave. And in the words of Maya Angelou, people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Right? Again, easiest parallel as a parent. So think about what it is you want the people you lead one day to say about you. In my mind, it's no different to what I want my kids to say about me. Right? If my kids ever say one day that my dad was an amazing CEO, I failed them dismally. Dismally. Right? If my team at work ever says that, I failed them dismally. Right? And if you've watched the Michael Jordan documentary, there's one clip in there where they talk about how all these other players felt about him. Nobody liked Michael Jordan, actually, his teammates. But the one thing they do say about him is that he made me the absolute best basketball player I could ever be. They didn't always appreciate his tact or his style or what he said, but they all say he made me the best basketball player I could ever be. Right? So with that light, they could never ever speak ill of him, even though they don't actually like him. So I'm saying don't chase likes on the TikTok, right? Chase impact. Thank you.
I'm from an ICT consulting company called Vibrant. Yeah, so that's a bit of a... Yeah, so my question is mainly around employee engagement and discipline. In our times today, where it's very difficult for people to be loving what they do, because people choose careers based on what careers can pay them versus what they love to do. So from your end, how do you ensure that the level of employee engagement is managed from that point? So that's the one question.
Okay, cool. Is it a similar question, or let her add to it, Candace? Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Petam Tunu. I am a founder. And
Sorry, it's hard work, huh?
Thank you. I appreciate the sorry. And I'm also a financial services attorney. And so I've been writing down a whole lot of things here. So I'm gonna try to keep it brief. But my first one is, as a person who likes doing hard things, I hope your sore feet are feeding your soul. And to be honest, you had me at Y. I'm a big follower of Simon Sinek. He really helped me kind of, kind of put things down. I don't know how to explain it. But just to echo his question, as a founding member of GoTyme, you obviously have a lot of institutional knowledge of GoTyme. Yep. And you've been there since day one. Mm-hmm. And you were speaking a lot about the people element. I think connection is very important. My question is, how do you mobilize people to back a vision of something that's never really been done before, or at least is extremely niche? And though even in the beginning, it's kind of nice, it's something new, it's exciting, we're doing something that's never been done before. The purpose is clear. Like you said, purpose never really changes, but how we get there, the rocks are really twist and we turn, especially during the design thinking process. You're ideating, you're prototyping, you're reiterating. How do you decide who you come with as far as you can? Who are you bringing with you?
They're going to start clapping soon.
And finally, and when it comes to those tough points, how do you decide that you've done your best and you need to leave them?
Yeah, perfect. Cool. So Floyd, it's interesting, right? So the reality is that I wish we could say that everybody ends up doing what they love doing. And I don't think I don't think that's where we end. That doesn't mean that mustn't be what we chase, though. All right. And a simple thing I say to the younger people in the business is that often they say, like, we've just actually done our employee engagement survey and the results are driving me up the wall. You know? And they say growth and development is an issue. Compensation, I'm like, just be original. Like, yes, no matter, I can double your salary, next year it will still be compensation. Right? But then I look at the data and I say, but in every single one of our other teams in the business, there's somebody who's come from other parts in the business before. So you can't argue that we don't grow and develop people. Yes, you feel you haven't grown and developed because you didn't get the job when you applied. So the message I've been delivering to the younger people in the business is that the way I think you must always look at these things, you always have to put yourself in the other shoes. Right? It's because when you always look at it from your lens and say, I'm not getting this, that's entitlement. Right? Is that I'm saying put yourself in the other shoes and become the hiring manager. Right? And now 10 people's applied, who do you hire? If you're the hiring manager, who do you decide to give the job? There's only one. You decide to give the job to the best one. So guess what your job is? When you're one of the 10. Make sure you're the damn best. Right? So in my view, the only way to get your next job, the one you potentially want more, is to be the damn best at your current one, whether you like it or not. Just be the best at your current job. Right? Because again, like I say, put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes. Right? And try and understand how that person is going to make a decision. And when you ask the person, they say, no, I'll choose the best. So I said, okay, so you weren't the best. How's that my fault? Right? Is you've got to take ownership of what your outcomes are. Right? And so it's hard messages, right? But again, if you go read, care and grow, it will tell you that it's actually important to have these kind of conversations. Because by me telling you, you must be better, that doesn't help me. Right? It's actually helping you. Right? The questions you asked is, for me, one of the most important things is I mean, it's easy, it's the purpose, right? So it's interesting, the analogy I always make today is that I always see ourselves as a solo artist and the industry is a choir. Right? I spoke about the interest example. I can give you 1 million examples. They all do it that way. Right? So therefore, they all do the same thing. So it's a choir. They're all singing a song, and with the little solo artist, we're singing our song that's different. Right? Their song's a shit song, to be quite honest. Right? But the reality is a choir sings louder than a solo artist. So guess what song you hear? The shit one. Right? Now, but here's the important thing for us. Is the only way you end up hearing our sound is if we're singing the same song consistently. Right? Because then only can you start drowning out the noise. Right? But in the first, like you mentioned, in that first bit, nobody wants to hear this thing. Right? But if you change the song, guess what? You'll always be in the first bit. They won't hear it again. Now you change the song again because it's hard, and they won't hear it again. The important thing is to stick to your knitting, especially if you believe in it. You have to stick to your knitting. Right? We've got 13 million customers today, one of the fastest growing balance sheets in the country. People are starting to hear the song. Right? You've just got to stick to your knitting. Especially as a founder too, you're gonna see it many, many times.
My name is Manzi and I'm a consumer scientist in the FMCG industry. So my question to you is, as someone who researches consumer decision making, I'm really fascinated, by how organizations identify unmet consumer needs. So in your journey, what were the most important customer behaviors or pain points that GoTyme observed, and how did you collect and use that data to design a banking experience that customers felt that was better than the traditional alternatives that are out there? Thank you.
It's a complex question. so interesting. So consumer scientists, that's fascinating. I believe that's our hardest problem to solve today as a business. I think we've actually solved all the other problems way better than I think what exists. So we think about, call it transactional and savings level, we offer the most affordable bank account in the country. I promise you our bank account does what all your bank accounts do. You're just choosing to pay 600 Rand a month for no reason. You're irrational, actually. I'm sure in your work you see lots of irrational consumer decisions. Right? But again, the squire, there's these behavioral norms that have been so entrenched. Right? It's really hard for us to identify what the trigger is to change it. Now, it's interesting, your question is around consumer demand. We're ignoring some of them. Now, I know that's going to sound weird, right? But I'll tell you why we're ignoring some of them. The number one and number two requests from our customers today are branches and ATMs. Right? That's not our knitting. Now, if I purely take what the data says, I should open a branch. Because that's what they want. But I genuinely don't believe it's going to serve them. But it's what they used to. Right? So what we've challenged our team to say is that, okay, cool, this is what they want. What our actual job is to try and convince them that is not what they need. Now, a simple exercise, so you'll appreciate this as a consumer scientist. People who've asked me this personally, when are you getting branches? I'm like, okay, when last were you in one? I can't remember. So I'm like, okay, so why do you want one? No, just in case. I'm saying, just in case what? Oh, in case something goes wrong. I say, what if nothing goes wrong? Right? But it's because these behavioral norms are so entrenched in the way that we've been taught to do things, it's hard to unlearn. As a leader, what I think you're going to have to learn to do is to have multiple lenses simultaneously. Right? Now, when I say multiple lenses simultaneously in the business today, what I've challenged our team, I said, I think we've got two problems to solve. The business of today and the business of tomorrow. Right? The business of today is the customers that's buying the stuff now and they're using it now. How do I get bigger wallet? They want branches, ATMs. The business of tomorrow are my kids. Joshua's 11, Kyra's 9. They've never been inside a branch, ever. I don't think they can describe, if you ask them what is a bank branch, they won't know. We never had conversations about it. We've never walked past a banking and said, my guy, let's take your DNA sample there. Right? So our customer of tomorrow, right? I think we've actually solved lots of those problems already. Right? Now, the risk you run is if you continue meeting a need you actually think is false. Right? What am I actually giving my customer of tomorrow today? Right? So we actually look at it, and on the merits we have big debates about this. Right? And the simple thing, so again, it's the harder job is to change the behavior. It's by far the harder job. Right? So we don't own a single ATM. But you can stick your GoTyme Bank card into any ATM in the country. But yet, what does South Africans do? Consumer scientists, we stand in the queue. And we wait, and there's an empty ATM there. And we wait, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense, Mosne. But the hard work is to change that behavior. That's where the displacement needs to happen. So that's what we're choosing to do. We have made one or two poor customer decisions based on what customers have asked for. Right? We have made. But at the same time, I can't override the business for everything, for example. You've got to create an environment where people feel empowered to make these decisions on their own and why they think it's important. But a lot of these things, in my mind, is also you've got to start with the end in mind. So what I test our team is saying, what is the behavior we actually want the so-called ideal customer to have? Right? So there's a school of thought, yes, we must have branches, we must have ATMs. And I'm saying, okay, cool, you guys arguing for that. You don't. When last have you used one? Oh no, but I'm not our typical customer. I said, but 10 years ago you were. And you've made the move as a consumer. So the question is, how do we help our customers make the move? It's hard, but that's what we're going to try and do. So we get all the feedback, but we don't always listen to it. Yeah.
So Cheslyn, thank you for helping us find our why today. And let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Cheslyn. This is for you.
Ah, perfect. merch, yeah, or
Great merch.
Lincoln's merch, huh?
Okay, 3.
Go time!